Welcome to Men, Sex, and Tantra.
Discover what your parents, porn, and religion never taught you about being a man and having extraordinary sex. Get ready to have your mind blown and your world rocked. And you have arrived at Men, Sex, and Tantra. And now finally me understanding what show that I'm actually speaking on. If you didn't listen to the last episode, if you like laughing, there's a lot of it. If you like wondering if you should objectify anybody or not, there's a lot of that not. Notice the knots, because today I still have Strider back with me, and we're not talking about knots, but we are not nodding. We are nodding and talking about them.
And I'm nodding my head
He's
now
nodding
as you're saying
his
that.
head.
Yeah.
Like,
so now now that we've completely confused your audience.
yes. No, they're smart. They're not confused. They get what we're laying down.
You know them better than I do.
Yeah, they get what we're laying down. They're like going, okay, what's up with Tanya in these last couple?
They're saying get to the point.
Yeah, is she? Yeah, right. Yeah. Is she ever caffeinated, or what's happening with her? This is true. I've actually been working a lot. I'm launching a couple of new programs right now. So when I work a lot, yep, I can get a little bit chatty.
A little punchy.
Okay. Yeah, a little punchy. I don't feel punchy. I just feel a little bit verbose.
Got it.
Yeah. So Shabari sounds like a Japanese dessert or a martial art or something. Shibari. This could even sound maybe Greek. We'll find out.
It is Japanese.
All right, Japanese.
And it is the art of Japanese, or the art of rope bondage, and it's from the Japanese. One of the wonderful things I love about Japanese culture is they take extremely practical things and turn them into art forms.
Yeah.
Gardening, landscaping, flower arranging, serving tea.
Yeah.
And this Shabari came from law enforcement.
Oh.
It came from bondage techniques that you'd use to restrain prisoners.
And they decided to make an art form out of it.
And they realized that some of the prisoners were actually enjoying it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that for sure.
You like to be hugged.
Somewhere along the line, somewhere between this being a purely practical
skills
matter,
how to rope somebody, right.
Well, or how to quickly. I mean, now we see cops use zip ties.
Right.
If they want to restrain somebody really quickly, bang, you got their wrists secured. Well, imagine doing that with rope. So you've got to actually tie a knot. And so people get pretty skilled at that. So okay, but we are not.
You're skilled at it. Is this what
we're hoping to get to that? Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I mean, speed is one of the high level skills of Shibari, and so in my experience now, there are, and I will say straight away, I am not the top Shibari guy in the world by any stretch of the imagination. There are many people that are way more advanced than I am, but I'm here talking to you, and I have a personal history with it, and it's been a really interesting road of discovery, because when I entered into the BDSM kink world, there were so many things which were completely counterintuitive to me. Like the whole idea of the submissive mindset is totally foreign to me.
Was
why?
Was.
It was. Well, I'm still riddling it out.
Okay. All right.
I think I'm at a point where I accept the idea that it just is what it is, and don't try to figure it out too much. It's like trying to figure out Buddhism. The more you look at it, the more it escapes you.
Okay.
So the submissive mindset, me being more of a dominant mindset, uh, is something I don't necessarily have to understand why it works, but how it works in interaction is critical
Right. Okay.
in power exchange relationships. So, and when you're talking about, say, impact play or restraint or power exchange, I mean that's really what it's about. It's a consensual giving up of autonomy and power in a very controlled space.
You hope. Ideally.
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 Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not yeah, we're not
50
gonna talk about
50 Shades of
the
Grey.
shadow side.
Yeah,
We're not
50
gonna shout
Shades
about
of
the shadow.
Grey.
We're gonna keep it on the high level, and we're gonna talk about how this works in uh how we can find the beauty in this technique.
All right. Okay. So, all right. So, Shabari, how we can find the beauty in the technique. And I'm just
The beauty in the art form.
in the art form. I'm going to like lay in a little moment here. So, pretty much why I said this could be controversial is I have pretty well been there, done that in almost everything there is to do in the world when it comes to sex. So, it's consensual and, and with adults, consenting adults. Let's just say that. And I also have had the idea that there's no such thing as consensual beating. So I have a whole really interesting, I've done a bunch of podcasts on like, can you actually give consent for somebody to hurt you? In nature, there is no such thing as anything wanting to be in pain. Pain is a reflex that teaches us to not go there. So I've got a lot of, stuff that I've jumped into with podcasts and science behind this and all the rest of this being a no after doing a bunch of stuff. Then I was kind of like a no to any of it. Like to me, it's trauma based and it's rewounding trauma. And I'm always open, right? Because like the second that I close the door on something, all of a sudden something comes along and goes, hey, check it out. So so what I'm trying to say is that I've been on extremes on this path. And so I'm really interested where I am today with it. Like today when I show up, because I haven't had a conversation around any of this for quite a while since my last big podcast where I pretty well had every BDSM person on the planet hating my guts. So this will be an interesting thing. And I'm curious, like when I feel into what I feel like now, what I stand for, know now, where's that going to be? Because that was about probably 5 years ago. And certainly in 5 years, I would have evolved quite a bit. So yeah, so I'm ready to pointed. So what you want to talk about when it came to this is the finding beauty in finding the art in this form.
Right.
All right. So I don't think I don't think I'm too off.
Well, I'm stuck on your idea that there's no such thing as consensual impact play.
Oh my! Well, the first
because if I accept that premise, then there's also no such thing as consensual restraint play.
Restraint doesn't necessarily mean pain.
Correct.
So remember,
however, it's not a natural place to be.
That is true. Though restraint, if you're neurodivergent, weighted blankets and other types of like holding tightly actually calm the nervous system down. So I have
I'll accept that.
I have some moments of science to back the fact that depending on your nervous system, that can actually be a down-regulating thing. Most things aren't, but that is one of them that is.
So maybe that's a good entry point for us, because I've often asked my partners, my tying partners, how it feels. What do you like about it? And what I get back is the sensation of the rope around your body feels like a big hug.
Comforting. Yeah.
And so so we get into this area, touch deprivation
Mm-hmm.
that is so rampant
Yeah.
right now. Whereas pain, receiving pain, has a lot more. It's kind of from a biological standpoint, it's a little less logical.
Yeah. Well, it's against our prime
So
directive. So
yeah,
that,
so if I can simulate a hug, that's easy to understand.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if I'm simulating you receiving pain, of course, then what I'll hear in response to that question is, well, there's an endorphin release that's intoxicating.
Right. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. Like, because at the
Mm.
same time, your blood coagulates because it thinks you're going to be in a fight and it doesn't want you to bleed to death. Stroke and heart attacks created by stress of blood coagulation. So, in other words, immediately when you think you're going to be in a fight, your stress gets high or you have impact, your body automatically thickens your blood.
I did not know that.
Science is a beautiful thing.
So do I need to put my flogger away? Is that what you're telling me?
No, but
Darn it.
No, but I
There goes
really
my
like
fun.
where this has gone so far, though, because what we're really talking about, like, you've helped me go, oh, okay. I was thinking Shabari, interesting. One, because it is beautiful. So looking at like the artistry and the presence when a master's at work with it is very beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful.
It is.
And
Yeah.
so that's cool. And the presence is also calming to the nervous system. The fact that somebody's that present with you. And then if the person feels that hug, feels that restraint as comforting, and it's down regulating their nervous system, then, I'm a yes. Because I don't see any trauma wounding. I see nervous system down regulation. I see all of the positive things that can be. So I would have to say, that I would be a yes to all of those things.
As long as you have also, if you're very cognizant of the physical
ligaments,
the risks,
like
ligament, nerve damage, things like that. So anybody who's thinking about getting into Shabari will need to learn a lot about anatomy and where the nerves are closest to the skin surface. I'm not going to lecture on that. I mean, there are a lot of resources out there for people to look into.
What you're saying is just don't go get a bunch of rope and start tying people up. And
no, there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. And yeah, there's another area, path you went down and what you were just saying that I lost for just a second. What were you saying before?
What?
Okay, never mind. We'll just keep talking here. So, yes, the feeling of the hug, which is the feeling that you get in a finished tie. And that's beautiful. That's wonderful. You can take great pictures and your partner can just kind of sit around and lie there or walk around wearing whatever you've tied. Now, I don't do suspension tying. That's a pretty fascinating upper level Shabari skill, is to actually suspend your partner with the rope. And there are resources aplenty. You can find some really cool YouTubes on it with some real master riggers. That's the expression for people who do Shabari, do suspension Shabari, who work fast, who work beautiful, and also work in continual contact physically and emotionally with their partner.
Yeah.
And when you're watching that, when that shines, it's a pretty hot experience.
Yeah.
So
and it's very intimate. Here's what surprised me. I had the pleasure of watching a Shabari master with do they call just their, not necessarily a sub, but their partner, their tying
Their
partner.
partner or their, some people call them model or just
Yeah.
partner's fine.
Yeah. So watching them, and he was doing suspension, and I was first, I had an opinion, like my first, because I do not like restraint. I'm like, fuck no to that. Nobody's doing that shit to me, because unlike a lot of people with neurodivergence, I do not like to be, even my blanket, I like it to be lofted. I don't like things on me. And so that was like, and I felt all weird about it. And then as I relaxed into it, watching the connection, the intimate connection that he had, not sexual connection, intimate connection that he had between the rope and his tying partner and the suspension, and how he worked in this like harmony. It was like, it was an amazing thing to watch.
It's actually, I feel like it's a trio.
Yeah, the
There's
rope.
me, there's the partner, and then there's the rope.
Yeah.
Which, if you really think about it, rope is a pretty amazing invention that humans came up with.
True.
It's a way for me to translate my energy from where I'm standing here to a point way over there. And would anyone have sailed around the world if we hadn't figured out rope first?
Right.
So I'm just a super appreciator of rope, that there even is such a thing.
Yeah.
And I tend to nerd out about things like that. So it actually, it touches me. It touches me emotionally. So, and I love the feel, the softness of the rope that I use. Most of the tying I do is with synthetic rope. I use a braided nylon as a primary rope, although there's some wonderful natural material, hemp or jute, which are a little more scratchy.
I'm cringing.
She's cringing. Yeah.
No, I'm all in my cashmere.
And my rope bottom friends are jumping up and down and getting all giddy and excited. They want to feel that. They want to feel that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this trio is very intentional toward creating this. And so I realize also, as soon as I lay a knot onto my partner, I am responsible for their safety. And that's why all rope people always have safety shears on their person. We usually use EMT shears. Because EMTs often have to cut, they have to cut fabric open to get out a wound, for example, and they have to do it fast, and they can't injure the patient, obviously. So they have snub noses. So and they're like you can get them for less than $10. I mean, most rope people have more than one pair, and so that's just in case your partner says, "Hey, I need to get out of here now." You have that option.
Rope.
Right. Rope is cheap versus the consequences of a tie that is cutting off nerve function, for example. That's a bad scene. And it's preventable, but it can happen. And now, because I don't do suspension, I'm not putting body weight on knots. So there's a little bit less concern about that. However, it's still, very present. So for me, for the tire, I love this feeling that I have of full concentration on my partner and the particular tie that I'm doing. It feels like sacred space to me.
Well, if you create it, then it is.
Well, we've created it. We've created it because I've been, of course, everything's consensual in this world, in the BDSM world. Ideally, we are talking about ideal.
Don't watch 50 Shades of Grey. She didn't sign the contract. God damn it! What's happening there? Anyway, sorry.
Okay. I don't tie anybody without consent. I mean. So, and I also love that many of my partners have ideas coming in. And this is, I think many kinksters will agree that this in the ropes world is where the bottom, the person receiving the whatever it is, the impact or the restraint, is more of an active partner than in other forms of kink play.
Oh, I think the bottom is always the top, quite frankly, but that's another episode.
Right. And I agree with that. That is another episode. I agree with you there. And that's actually a pretty cool feeling as a top.
Yeah.
To know that if she, and I typically work with women, so I'm going to use
Right.
that pronoun. If that she is taking responsibility for her safety. So it's not all on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that allows me to relax into the technique. And I love the feeling that I have wrapping the rope around a body. Even if if there's clothing over that body, there's sensual touch happening that is that's really wonderful, and it really fills my cup. So while creating this tie, the road to get there is a really happy road. It's a really happy place to be.
I want to notice, because once again, I got the visual here that the listeners don't, but the difference, like watching your body language and watching you move while you're talking about this, it's clear that this is a sensual, intimate, sacred experience where the rope is part of the intimacy. Like I can feel the love and intimate relationship with the rope that you have as well as the person. Like I can see and feel that. Now that is not the same. Like I have seen plenty of stuff where it did not feel that way at all. Like that energetic blend or that sacredness or that feeling, because I've seen a lot of stuff that's like, yeah, horrifying to look at because I'm not feeling that level of the sacredness, of that presence, of that. What I'm seeing is direct power, like with an anger, frustration, something else internalized in it too. So that looks really scary and different compared to what you're talking about here. So to me, it's almost like a martial art when you have the ability to be in power over somebody, but you're in reverence of that.
Yeah.
It becomes an entirely different dynamic. And I think that really is highlighted for me as somebody who's very energetic, the ability to read energy and to be in that space. It looks very different to me.
So I'm going to go off on a little tangent here and pick up on your martial arts comment, because I practice Aikido. I also Japanese,
there you go.
Japanese
Perfect.
art form.
Yep.
So one of the cool things about Aikido is that in a typical class, I am given dozens of opportunities to hurt somebody. And every single time I choose the route of peace.
Right. Which is what's beautiful about Aikido.
Yes. So, and now we're moving that into the BDSM place. I have at my fingertips the power to mess this person up.
Right.
And I choose not to.
Right.
It's the farthest thing from my thought in that moment. However, that creates tension, and we need polarity for sexual tension, right? So there's that juicy dynamic that's happening, and that's part of why I'm drawn to this practice. Is there is risk, and there is a potential for misusing it, and I skate above that ice. I never drop below it.
Well, then that would tell me that you're not in the category of what I consider constantly triggering trauma wounding. Most of the stuff that I see are people triggering trauma wounding over and over again, right? And like I was asked by several people, oh my gosh, you'd be like the perfect dominatrix. You know, all this stuff about the body and all the rest of this. And I can never step into that because, quite frankly, most of the people that I see play in that arena are playing with their trauma wounding, which I refuse to be a party to, since I want people to heal. And people say there's healing in that. And I haven't seen it. But what you're talking about is different. So this is, once again, where are you coming from with this? What is the reverence? What is your trigger for doing it? All of that. Somebody who does keto, already leg up. I know where that's, because keto as a martial art is all about this, you know, move with it, you know, don't create the
blending energies and
exactly
protecting that's kind of the moral structure of Aikido is you take an aggression and you dissipate that energy in a way that does not injure the attacker.
Right.
Instead of just punching back and
reverence for life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's and that's what keeps me going back.
Yeah.
But you have given me something to think about the trauma wounding. So
yeah. Well, like I said,
there's something I'll take away from this conversation that's useful.
I don't have any, like, you know, taboo, like religious taboo, whatever. These are like the things that when I go play and whatever, check out whatever these things, it's never about like a moral judgment or that's right or that's wrong. But I always look at the biology. I look at the reasoning. I look at the energetic impact. So I like to, you know, biohack the whole thing essentially. And so, you know, I love fire play. I had the opportunity to have somebody who was really great play on my back, right? And I was like, yeah, holy crap, this is fun. You know, there was I had a lot of fun with that. Now, had I been burnt in a fire and had fear around fire, and I was using this fire to like keep snapping my nervous system into that trigger, yeah, not so cool. I don't have a problem with fire, right? And this person was just very artful. Like she asked what kind of level, you know, or like the whole questions around the whole thing. And so my first foray into it, and I was like, yeah, I'm a fan. And so, you know, I'm open to things, but once again, it's like, why do we do this? What is stimulating us? Is it healthy? Just because it turns you on doesn't mean you should do it either. Like there's reasons we get turned on by trigger wounds too. We just don't realize that, right? So it's like, Anyway, so I appreciate the fact that you're also like, oh, yeah, I can think about that in a different way. And that's why I like having these conversations and asking myself where I am today. See, Shabari in your way, Shabari is an art form that is conscious, is reverent, that the person that you're doing it with, their nervous system down regulates. In other words, could be a healing event. If we're talking about neurobiology, down regulating the nervous system in a safe way is a healing experience.
It's a connecting experience as well.
Right. I love that part about it too, because you're in presence. And the one thing that I've always, just like most poly relationships or most BDSM stuff, is the communication, the consent. But I also don't believe somebody who has a dysregulated nervous system and has trauma wounding can actually consent. So yeah, that's an entirely different conversation, but
it is.
Well, how do you want to wrap up this?
Let's talk about nuts and bolts. And so one of the things I enjoy about an unexpected benefit of being in the kink world is I will never enter a hardware store or a kitchen supply store with the same eyes as I did before, because I see toys that can be used for fun things. So the rope that I use, I picked up at a big box hardware store. It's a 6 millimeter or about 1/4 inch braided nylon, basically clothesline material. I usually work in about 25-foot sections, so your listeners can run out by 100-foot sections, cut it into 4 pieces, singe the ends,
Do you think
with
they
a,
should be running out to get rope without like some training?
they should get training, but they're going to practice on themselves.
Okay, great. All right. That's good. Don't
And
put
what
the
you're going to do first, is called a rope gauntlet. And that is very simply is a tight tie that goes from your wrist to your elbow. And it uses a knot that's called a lark's head. Now we're on radio here,
think
so I
about
can't show it to you. But when you guys or ladies, when you look this up, find out what a lark's head is. It's the simplest knot. All Shabari, by the way, works with a doubled over rope. So your 25-foot length of rope, you're going to find the middle of it. That's called your bite. And all knots begin from the bite end, from that halfway point. All knots are doubled over. So while you're sitting around, I sometimes entertain myself while watching TV by just tying a gauntlet around my wrist. It feels cool, and I do it on your leg, whatever turns you on.
too. You're showing up with, your
Right, it's like Wonder Woman.
gauntlets.
She's got those gauntlets. Yeah.
Right, there you go.
And I found the rope gauntlet is a perfect entry for semi-skeptical partners, potential partners.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because it's an arm, it's a forearm.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're total freedom of movement,
Right.
and it's still sexy.
Yeah.
The act of tying it is still intimate. I'm holding your arm.
Well, how many women are actually getting that kind of presence from their men? Like literally showing up to spend a half an hour really just exclusively on them, not as much. So
right.
yes, that would make it so.
Yeah, I consider this a gift that I give to them.
What I want, so what I think what I'm hearing here is if you're interested, so let's give them the basic. If you're interested in something, obviously you're saying you can get into this at an entry point that isn't a big commitment, that isn't dangerous, right? But you should be reaching out to somebody, or because even just looking on the internet is not, but a gauntlet, putting a gauntlet on yourself, as long as you don't your fingers aren't white, you haven't losing circulation, is a great place to step into an easy kind of space to even decide if you want to take it further, or you want to, or putting a gauntlet on your partner before you even decide that you want to go further and maybe spend some money finding a coach or going to an event or going deeper, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can find rope jams. A lot of major cities.
Oh, cool.
Have
Rope
them.
jams. Okay, so
so look for that.
Rope jam. All right, I like that. Rope jam. Yeah, Shabari is what we're calling. Would you spell it for our audience?
Shabari.
Awesome. Shabari, Japanese art of rope tying. Yeah.
Yes, and I think the word Shabari just means tie, to tie. That's very simple.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so what I want so that's your intro to Shabari, guys. I know we haven't done an episode like this before. And what I want everybody to take away, myself, from this is that, once again, intent, energetic, intent informs everything. If you are a man who has a lot of frustration and anger, these things are not your best entry points to stuff. I mean, really, you got to get a handle on that first. And I think this is so important because you can fool yourself and rationalize, and this is for women too. If you want to play in spaces that have potential danger, you should be really regulated, and the ability to maintain your cool, your ability to not get triggered by somebody saying something or whatever. But if you're riding that triggered edge, and this is why I had to stop, because I was somebody a long time ago that it was never risky enough. My tolerance for risk, it was so high that if I had to consent and agree to everything, it didn't do anything for me. That is the time when you're in danger and your partners are in danger, and this is stupid ass shit you're doing.
So sounds like consensual non-consent.
Right. This is like, it's really easy to mistake that high adrenaline, all of that chemistry going on that seems so fun if you're a risk junkie or you're dysregulated or whatever, and a way to end up hurt or hurting somebody else. And trust me, that does happen. That happens.
Oh yeah.
So I think if you're going to experiment, if you're going to do anything like this, I want you to make sure that you are not somebody who's reactive. And that pretty well cuts out 95% of the people playing in this arena right now. So my hat's off to you, Strider.
Thank you.
I love that you did this because I think you gave a beautiful example of somebody that is regulated enough, has done their work, is doing this from a space that isn't about that power hungry titillation of the, like, yeah, risk is there, that makes it risky, but you're not risky. Your nervous system isn't going to take you off and boot you into some crazy town.
Yeah, I think see, I don't really get off on the control that I have when I've restrained someone. I mean, that's
right.
I'm not thinking, now you're mine, now you're in my power.
Right.
I'm more like, my feeling is more like this is
he's got
we're in
his
risky
hands
space
together in reverence.
we're in risky space here.
Yeah, risky space that I'm respecting. Yeah. So I appreciate that. All right, everybody, that is a wrap for us today. Look at how many ways I've been able to and I haven't even been trying to do that. That's what's so much fun. And I like my knots when I'm sailing.
That's another conversation. As I think we're both sailors, so I think we could relate on that level too.
Absolutely. All right, and we're out.